So if you clicked on this video because you wanted to learn how to increase the circumference of your neck, let's get to it. Let's see what these docs have to say. What would you tell them?
Well, gaining muscular body weight is definitely one way to do it. Gaining weight just in general. In fact, when you look at the rate of like obstructive sleep apnea, one of the biggest risk factors is just having a bigger neck, and one of the ways that we predict that people will have a thicker neck is by their BMI. So if they have a obese BMI, you're run a high risk of having a very large neck. Now, if you're trying to do this and not just gain a bunch of adipose tissue, gaining muscle mass is the way to go. So a couple exercises that you probably want in your program. You would think barbell shrugs, definitely big for building traps, any sort of overhead press, any sort of deadlift, any rowing exercise. All of those exercises definitely do work the shoulder girdle and in particular the trapezius muscles substantially. A neck harness, some people are going to recommend doing that. I think the only time I recommend people use a neck harness is if they're in a contact sport that involves like helmet to helmet or head-to-head contact like that. So sports like MMA, football, rugby, soccer, you know, just anytime where you're going to have a collision potentially with the head. There's some evidence suggesting a decreased rate of traumatic brain injuries in people who do accessory neck work. But as far as it actually building substantial size for the neck and traps, it's not one of my go-tos. Rather, shrugs, press, rows and chins, and deadlift work, along with gaining some body weight. Usually traps grow pretty nicely.
If I was your client, and I said, I want to increase the circumference of my neck.
Yeah, probably the first question I would ask is how much body weight are you willing to gain for it? I think it's probably challenging to have a really marked increase in your neck circumference with no weight gain. And so if you're in a situation like where your waist circumference is already, you know, looming in a dangerous range and you're wanting to put, you know, several inches on your neck circumference, I'd say maybe we need to take care of your body composition situation before we push that weight gain in order to facilitate it. But, you know, if that was all in check and we're wanting to do some training for it, then, I mean, I think that it needs to be trained directly as well as can be trained indirectly with a lot of lifts that you may already be doing. So upper back stuff, deadlifts, rows, probably would have you do some shrugs, I suppose, even though I don't really tend to program those all that often for most people, because it isn't really, that isn't most people's goal, so I don't tend to program that a lot for most people, but that would probably fall into play there. And then I don't have personal experience using the neck harness deal myself. I've played around with one a couple times, but I haven't necessarily used it in terms of training myself. But I know that some athletes and combat athletes and stuff like that tend to utilize that as part of their training, so I wouldn't be opposed to playing around with that. And of course, I would, just like anything else, I would start it low and progress it slow in order to reduce the risk of precipitating any kind of issues, neck pain, stuff like that. Just progress it gradually to allow for tolerance and adaptation. So that would probably be the way I would go about it. But if somebody's telling me that they want to train and get their neck big while they're like cutting or something like that, as a lot of people have those kind of simultaneously opposing goals, then I'd probably reset some expectations there.
저 빨간색의 LOVE 내 핸드폰은 멈추지 않아 하루 종일을 beep 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 엄마마마 뜨거워 hot hot issue issue 그만만 시간을 꼭 지겨다든 내게 정말 짝짝 늘어놓고 짝짝짝 넌 배불러 배불러 칭찬은 됐어요 날 궁금해하는 많은 눈빛과 밀려오는 수많은 말 속에 진실을 찾아 헤매고 있어 오늘도 매우 쏟아진 nom지 Thumbs up Thumbs up Thumbs up 난 머리부터 발끝까지 시선을 끌지 Thumbs up 왜 눈만 뜨면 늘어나니 저 빨간색의 LOVE 내 핸드폰은 멈추지 않아 하루 종일을 삐삐삐삐 어머머머 뜨거워 핫핫 이슈 그만만 시간을 꼭 지겨다든 내게 정말만 짝짝 늘어놓고 짝짝짝 넌 배불러 칭찬은 됐어요 날 궁금해하는 많은 눈빛과 밀려오는 수많은 말 속에 진심을 찾아 헤매고 있어 오늘도 매우 쏟아진 놈지 Thumbs up Thumbs up Thumbs up 난 머리부터 발끝까지 시선을 끌지 Thumbs up 라라라라라라 Thumbs up 라라라라라라 머리부터 발끝까지 Thumbs up 왜 눈만 뜨면 늘어나니 저 빨간색의 LOVE 내 핸드폰은 멈추지 않아 하루 종일을